Hi friends, this video is coming out around Valentine's Day, so I chose an appropriately Valentine's themed topic, Ork Clans. What do you mean that makes no sense? Valentine's Day is a love holiday of sorts, and I love orcs, so it makes sense to me. Plus, we're talking orcs, so sense doesn't really matter anyways. Ork clans are essentially the different cultures of orcs. The orcs were created to be the perfect warrior race by the old ones, and they have an ancient knowledge baked into their genes. This is why things like mech boys innately know how to engineer the orc weapons and war machines, or how weird boys innately know how to harness the energy of the warp to accidentally blow their own heads up. But these gene rot instincts are in every orc in a variety of ways and can manifest for large groups. These are the different clan cultures. Each has a specialization, favorite fighting style, and cute color coordinated outfits. Also, important to note, clans are mostly cultural differences and multiple different clans can coexist in the same orc tribe. So, today, I'll be discussing the 6 main clans. But without further ado, here we go! First up, since they got to the studio first, are the Evil Sons. This clan has some of the fastest, if not the fastest boys around. To the Evil Sons, the only thing that really matters is quote-unquote going fast as orcally possible. Crumping some humies? Gotta go fast. Shooting some gits? Gotta go fast. Doing your mom? Gotta go fast. And what's the best way to go fast? Cocaine! What? And what's the best way to go fast? Cars and trucks and bikes, oh my! Naturally, the Evil Sons has a higher than average mech population since we all know the fastest way to go fast is strapping 100 rockets to the Rari and finding a school zone. And to make matters even faster, all their vehicles, clothes, and equipment are painted bright red since they believe the red ones go faster. They believe this because it's true. But there's also a school of thought that the orcs just instinctually paint their fastest things reds due to their genetic knowledge, but the subtle paint thing is funnier, and it's also important to note that Flash, he's the fastest man alive. Red. Lightning McQueen is speed. He is speed. Red. Sonic the Hedgehog? That's right. Red shoes. Food for thought. And finally, the orcs in this clan are also especially susceptible to the subculture of the cult of speed. These orcs are known as the speed freaks, and they're addicted to going fast even more so than crumping and blasting Daka. But if you aren't feeling the wheelin', then maybe the snake bites are more your style. These funky orcs rejected modernity and embraced squigdition. These are the hillbillies of the orc, and they probably hate TikTok too. The Snakebites are a feral orc clan who generally don't like tech and prefer riding great big squigs, squighogs, squigosaurs, etc. over vehicles. Now, this doesn't exactly mean they don't use tech at all. They still use their share of shooters, sluggers, various explosives, and cybernetics. But anything too fancy is generally seen as overcomplicating the simple act of bashing skulls and shooting dirt. But anyways, in order to become a true snakebite, an orc has to undergo a ritual in which they receive a bunch of snake bites. These rituals have also earned the snakebites a place on the nose of the On the Nose Names Hall of Fame. These snakebites also make those snakebites even tougher than the average orc, and they are arguably the toughest orc. But we'll talk about the tough clan soon. These guys also have the most beast snaggers. The beast snaggers are expert hunters who seek the biggest and the baddest prey like huge monsters or imperial titans. And finally, the snakebites were brown, because I guess brown makes you snake your bite better or something. Sure, yeah, we'll go with that. But next up, let's talk about a clan that actually really loves big flashy tech, and one that I completely forgot to mention in the last orc video. The Bad Moons. The Bad Moons are the rich nepo babies of the orcs as they are born with abnormally fast-growing teeth. You see, in orc society, their teeth is money, so the orcs with the most teeth are the richest boys. Thus, the Bad Moons often function as a merchant class of the orcs and like to buy the biggest, baddest custom blasters to kill their enemies and other orcs who want to steal their wealth. The richest war bosses drive around in pimped up battle wagons and have humongo guns. This clan is also known for heavily using flash gits, which are some of my favorite orc units. Flash gits flaunt their wealth by having the most over-the-top, flashiest custom blasters they can make or buy. Often, they try to add unique functions to their gun for further flexing. Also, outside of lore, it's just a super fun kit where you can actually customize their guns. I don't think the rules really change, but it's fun regardless. Plus, the Bad Moons love yellow, and yellow ones explode harder, which further adds to their flash. All in all, the Badmoons are some of the richest, if not the richest orcs around. Also, speaking of cool flashy things, I'd like to make a quick aside and mention that I finally made some sticker sheets. Wow, look at those darling stickers surely flashing on screen. It's like my dang drawings came to life to walk among us in the real world. And this is just wave 1. I'll make more, but you can find them in a link in the description or my channel store page. Also, I was thinking about making pins. If that interested anyone, please let me know so I could gauge interest before ordering them. But back to the video. With that, I feel it's about time to talk about the poster boys of the boys, the Goths. These orcs are some of the biggest, the baddest, and the toughest, if not the biggest, baddest, and toughest orcs around. The Goths on average are bigger and stronger than other clans, and these dudes are also the most numerous and most warlike of the orcs, which is saying a lot considering the MO, modus orcerendi, of the orc race. This also means that the Goths have the biggest knobs. And I'm sure my viewers across the pond will have a little chortle over their tea or whatever for that one. The Goths' preferred war tactics are humongous infantry assaults. They love battle so much that they prefer to experience it direct and personal. Thus, they use less vehicles than most other clans. They aren't as extreme as the Snakebites, but they do prefer to utilize vehicles as transports to get into the battle faster, rather than actual fighting machines. The Goths are also technically the generalists of the Ork clans in that they relatively equally hone in their ranged and melee skills since they gotta be the bestest fighters of course, but at the end of the day, Ork's gonna Ork and they of course prefer melee combat. In addition, these orcs are the most brutal and sadistic of all the clans. They take great pleasure in savagely murdering their opponents, torturing prisoners, and otherwise doing 40k-isms. The Goths are also open to diversity in a racist kind of way, or I guess clanist. Of all the clans, the Goths are the most open to working with the other ones for their huge was. However, this isn't for any unorky things like altruism or inclusivity. Rather, they see themselves as the greatest orc clan and that it's their right to boss around all of orc kind. Huh, space racists in my 40k? Inconceivable! Then, this collaborative nature was furthered by the legendary Gazkul Magorak Thraka, the Prophet of the Wa. Gazkul is the biggest, baddest orc of 40k and is the closest thing to a faction leader. And a somewhat unique aspect of him is that he seeks to unite the orcs for some humongo wars, or at least as united as they can be without being boring. After all, sometimes a good scrap with the boys is more important than anything. And the Goths utilize a lot of knobs and mega knobs, just on account of them being naturally bigger and stronger. Their clan color is black since they think that wearing bright colors is, like, totally lame and unorkish. Oh, Gork, they really are goth. Just need some emo hair squigs. Also, I just have to mention this because I think it's funny. They invented an orc flybore formation called the Nuttas, who specialize in quote-unquote flying headbutts. Yeah, I suppose kamikaze strikes are kind of the melee of airplanes, but these dudes are pretty nutty. Then going from perhaps the orkiest clan to ever orc, let's touch on perhaps the least orky clan to ever orc. Or at least the most unorthodox of them. The Blood Axes. The Blood Axes are unique because they have cowardly ideas like thinking and cringe tactics such as actually using tactics. Yuck, I know. The Blood Axes have this abnormality because they were the first orc clan to encounter humans. As such, they began to copy effective human tactics so that they could be even better in warfare. Unlike other orcs, they use camouflage, squad formations, tactical retreats, and other things that are a bit more strategic than the constant Leroy Jorkinen all day, every day that the other clans like to employ. Also, funny thing about them is that they try to emulate human tactics, but they aren't always successful since they don't actually know the reason for some of the things they're copying. For example, they'll use camo but in nonsensical colors, or they'll copy strategies but use them in the wrong scenarios. Also, they breed camo squigs, which is pretty interesting and cute. Another interesting thing is that they especially like to loot Imperial vehicles and are known to even trade with Imperials or work as mercenaries for them. This is really cool flavoring as I always love to see the odd Xeno-human team up, and it's really good for kit bashing potential. As if the orcs needed even more kit bashing potential, that is. Finally, I want to close off this section with just how weird it is that in like 60 million years of existing, the Blood Axe has seemingly only copied Imperial tactics. However, come to think of it, it's probably because of all the major factions, the Imperium tends to fight the most like Orks. Oftentimes, they're basically Daka and melee charges, except strategic Daka and melee charges. The Eldar hit and run tactics are of course far too cowardly, the Necrons are asleep, and the Tau are pathetic losers who don't like melee, so I guess copying humans is a good way to improve while also staying true to their orcish ways. But finally, I saved my favorite for last. Give it up for the Death Skulls! I really love this clan because, just like the Blood Axes, they have great kit bash potential, and their culture is just really cool once I started reading about them. The Death Skulls' defining characteristic is that they just love stealing. They steal anything and everything from anyone and everyone they come across. After and during battles, they scour the battlefield for things they find interesting, and they hoard their treasures for when it may be useful later. The Death Skulls are said to even rush their assaults and kill enemies as quick as possible so that they could speedrun to the dessert, aka stealing. Another defining trait is that they're really superstitious. Super superstitious, if you will. So they'll wear blue and paint themselves and their looted goods blue, since the Orks think that blue is a lucky color. My balls were also quite lucky after talking about my extensive homebrew lore at the Hot Babe convention. And of course, the signature unit of the Death Skulls are the Lootas, which are the boys who, as their name suggests, loot, and have their mech boys make them a custom death gun from their looted loot. Beyond that, the Death Skull mechs also specialize in making combi weapons and repurposing enemy vehicles. Modified Death Skull Lehman Russes, Rhinos, and even Baneblades are not an uncommon sight when facing these blue boys, which again makes them super interesting at kit bash. Overall, the Death Skulls are some of the steeliest, if not the steeliest boys around. And those are the main clans, but I quickly want to touch upon an interesting subculture that is kind of its own clan. The Freebooters are a piratical orc clan composed of orcs who either left their clan or were exiled for one reason or another. The Freebooters go around the galaxy in decorated orc pirate spaceships and wreak havoc wherever they land, looting and pillaging for the next war. There's also a disproportionate amount of bad moons and death skulls among their ranks, since freebooters like to amass riches during their wars and show off with fancy guns. Those values of course aligning with the bad moon and death skull clan cultures. But with that, those were all the notable orc clans. My personal favorites are the Death Skulls, Goths, and Blood Axes, but I think all of them are very cool and interesting. My personal orc force is basically a mix of freebooters and snakebites, as the orcs plaguing my homebrew planet are split into pirate fleets terrorizing the seas and feral orcs hiding in the jungles. Freebooters are also a great excuse for indecisive people like me to paint many orc colors. Anyways, this is kind of a unique format for my lore videos, as I went through the basics of a few sub-factions rather than just one faction, and I'm thinking of doing a similar thing for my unit lore videos, so let me know if you like this style for those types of vids. Let me know what your favorite clan is and why, or tell me what your favorite orc unit is. Mine are either Flash Gits or Mega Knobs. And of course, thank you for watching, and thank you to the Patreons who give me the teeth needed to make these cool videos. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing to all your orc boys. Thanks. I thought it was DEFF skulls for the longest time because the Lootas use def guns, DEFF guns, but no. The Orcs decided to spell something right for the first time ever with the Death Skulls, and I just had to be wrong.